Welcome, Michelle. How are you
Thank
doing?
you. I'm good. How are you?
Good. We're going to do our first podcast, aren't we? We're going to go
Yeah.
straight into it with why do kids fall out of love with the sport? In our case, football. We'll come on to that
Yeah.
in a moment. We're going to touch on a few questions. Firstly, just generally speaking, what's your opinion? Just to answer that general question, what's the reasons why you think kids fall out of love with their sport?
I think it's the pressure that comes with it. So I think it's, the pressure from the coach to perform a certain way, the pressure from the parents, perhaps pressure on themselves. They watch football on the TV and they want to be the next, you know, Ronaldo. They want to be the next Messi. And I think they put so much pressure on themselves. Um, and the fun, they lose the fun from it.
Yeah, as you said, children start to disengage for a few reasons. Could be pressure on themselves, could be from a grown up. And the grown
Hmm.
up angle isn't necessarily just the coach, is it? We talk about how important parents are in this
Yeah.
journey. And, I've spoken to people that have really sort of a keen emphasis in their
Mm.
sort of drive for their child to go to the next level. And I'm not suggesting we should stop that if there's a pure love and seriousness about it. But
Yeah.
how many people are we talking about that are that serious about it that they have to be sort of driven to do that? So I guess my question at the end of that is what percentage or what part do adults play, whether it's coach or parents involved when it comes to this?
A huge part, because I think when the fun stops, it's not fun anymore. It's not something that they want to do
Yeah.
anymore if the fun isn't there. It's all fun and games with, the drills and the coaching and things. But when there's pressure involved of having to perform a certain way and go to training that many times a week or be the best player on the team, I think that's when it potentially stops being fun. So parents have just as much of a role to play in it as a coach would.
Yeah. I think again it depends on the level. I mean, we've seen all levels of football, right? And we
Hmm.
we coach obviously or we're part of a community club and we run a football school, if you will.
Hmm. Yeah.
And there's different abilities at whatever team or whatever group we look at, right? And in that group,
Mm.
there's different levels above the average, and arguably below
Yeah.
average. And it's how do we do a session that caters for all of those abilities, but equally, what's going on in the minds of these players as they develop, right? And I
Mm.
guess it's how do we get to understand that better as parents, as coaches, as grown-ups? What can we do to understand a child's motivations, do you think?
I think speaking to the children, seeing what drives them, what they want to next work on, what they're trying to perfect, what skills they've learned that they want to get better at. I I just think speaking to them, always having an open conversation with them as a coach, in a development session or at home as a parent, asking them, what did you learn at training today? What are you going to try on the pitch next time?
And you touched on obviously the questioning technique that we obviously have as a big sort of philosophy at our football school,
Mm.
Sharky Soccer School, which is ask, don't tell. What was your
Yeah.
best moment? What did you enjoy the most from your game as a question,
Mm.
rather than how many goals did you score or assists did you get? It's not just about that, is it? It's about how we
Yeah.
frame it, because the pressure then on not all. I mean, some kids that score 50 goals a season and assist 30 times a season, it's a relevant question. But as we know, not everyone can do that, or not everybody is that. So it's about how we position those questions, would you say?
Definitely. Yeah. Not everyone's going to go out every week and score a goal, but they might block a number of goals. They might be dream to be a defender one day, or, that's where they play on the pitch, but their role is just as important as those wanting to score every week. So it's just making sure that the children are happy doing what they're doing and wanting to develop. And we just have those open conversations with them.
You've got two kids, you both play football, different age groups, a few
Yeah.
years apart, obviously. What's your favorite questions to ask them, whether it's before a game, after a game? What do you find you normally talk about with your own kids?
I would probably say what I said before, that what was the best thing that you learned at training today? What were you most proud of in training today? And or did you learn a new skill today? And how are you going to bring that onto the pitch at the weekend? And
Yeah.
then whenever we're on the way down to a game at the weekend, we'd always say, "Oh, what are you gonna work on the pitch today? Not how many goals are you going to score today?" Or we just always make it positive. There's no pressure there.
Yeah, and I understand the positive, and I agree. We've got to try and get that positivity out. But
Mm.
it's okay to challenge as well, isn't it? What frustrated you today is fine to ask that. We want to find out. Not everything's going to
Yeah.
work out all the time. You know, if there's something that frustrates our players, our kid, whether it's our own
Mhm.
kids or children in the teams, we still have to ask those tricky questions, don't we? Because without understanding the answers, we're just going to
Mm.
hope that a blanket sort of method helps everyone. And as we all know, everyone's individual. Everyone's got their own sort of nuances, haven't they? They're different
Yeah.
personalities. You've got your quieter ones, your lively ones, the
Mhm.
ones that talk with their feet, that talk with their mouth. There's all
Yeah.
kinds of things that we have to adapt to. And sometimes, unless we ask those specific questions, well, what frustrated you today specifically?
Mm.
So then they might open up, well, number 8 never passes to me, even though I'm always there calling for the ball. Okay, now we're getting to the understanding of the
Yeah.
frustration, and it's comes back to us asking more questions, doesn't it?
Definitely. And, we'll have those conversations with the kids as well. So certainly with my youngest, my oldest has been playing a lot longer, but with my youngest, it's explaining if they do come off as number 8 didn't pass to me, for example, it's a case of, okay, well, what could you do? What could you do next time so that he does pass to you, and spinning it that way. So he's thinking about what he's always should next
Right.
be doing on the pitch.
Yeah.
I think that's important as well.
Developing thinking players, whether it's through challenges or sort of positive means, is what we
Yeah.
want, right? And that's a great
Hmm.
example. Well, what can you do? Oh, I was in a great position. Okay, great. Is that all you could do? What else could you
Mm.
do? I'm not really sure. So we can help guide them. Well, do you
Yeah.
only run in the game or can you do anything else? Well,
Yeah.
I could call for the ball. Okay, so maybe you could
Hmm.
make yourself communicate better. And then we find the answer, don't we?
Yeah.
Um,
And it's
you've
almost like
worked
they've found the answer themselves then. So then they
right.
take it on more because we've found the answer together. So it does work.
Yeah, I love that. We find the answers together. I think that's the
Mm.
key thing. Some people can challenge, well, we need to tell. You can't just be all fluffy and ask questions. And I think they're missing the point. You can ask questions and still
Yeah.
give answers, but the answers that you give are from helping the person, the child, find it.
Yeah.
So if they're
Hmm.
stuck, we can ask more questions. And then the penny drops. Then we get them to
Yeah.
open up. And then we develop thinking players. So it's a really important part of this. And I guess going back to falling out of love with the game, is it because too many players are given unrealistic objectives? Is it because they focuses on purely results driven? Is it a mixture of everything? What do you think?
Yeah. It's probably a mixture of the two. When we go back to the whole ask, don't tell thing. And exactly like we were talking about the kids there, coming off the pitch and talking to them in a certain way or before they start a game. I think you play how you're, with your feelings as such. So if you're being told over and over again, you must do this, you mustn't do that, pass, shoot, constantly having these things at you, it's really hard to concentrate on the
Yeah.
pitch. And I just think if they're coming up with their own solutions, a lot more of them would be happy.
So we've talked a little bit about sort of our
Hmm.
philosophy and some of the reasons why maybe children fall out of love with the game. And we'll touch more on that in a moment. But
Yeah.
from an age perspective,
Hmm.
it's different ways to deal with sessions, isn't there? So we have at our football school, we've got the sort of reef sharks 2 to 3s all the way
Hmm.
through to the megalodons, which is the 9 to 12s. How is
Yeah.
it different? I mean, how does this philosophy, the same philosophy, translate? So if you give us an example, perhaps on the 2 to 3s, what's the kind of guidance in the ask, don't tell framework that's relative for someone who's so young?
I think with the 2 to 3s, it's all about just having as much fun as we possibly can while sort of just dropping the odd just little drill or fun game in there so that they can learn while they're playing effectively because they are so young. So we would
Right.
always show them straight away how a particular game is going to work. And then we have a little practice, then we might have to show them again, maybe. It's just a case of leading by example. So we will show them what what happens and then we'll just let them find their own way.
So yeah, giving them a chance to explore once they've seen how to do it. And I think, a lot of
Yeah.
people again will say 2 year olds, can a 2 year old really go to a football class? As you
Hmm.
know, we used to start at 4 and we found over the years, well, since we started the 2 to 3s, it's a different kind of thing, isn't it? It's parent
Yeah.
involvement. We need that support because they are so young. But equally,
Mm.
it's that first steps. They are still kicking the ball. They still have fun with that. Excuse me. But it's more of
Yeah.
the other elements, isn't it? About it could be their first experience learning how to share with another human being, right? And as
Yeah.
we know, you have to be a certain age before that's possible. And that 2 to 3 age group brings its own exploration and challenges. And how do you deal with that? How do you deal with kids that aren't the most, how can I say it, shareable?
New word. I mean, there's a lot of parent participation in the group. We would always speak to a child if they, oh, that's not kind, or, this is how we share. So we, again, lead by example. So we will, we will show or mention that another child is particularly sharing very well, like, oh, well done, so and so. That was really kind. That was really nice to share with other person. So we will make an emphasis on things that other children have done well, so they can then see a good example, as it were. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's very much all about imaginative play in the group, that particular group. So we do kind of let
We
them
have
just find their own
challenges.
way.
There's challenges sometimes with the bibs, even like we're just like trying to,
Yeah.
they, do they want to put on a bib? But we're trying to
Yeah.
get them to position that in a certain way
Yeah.
is funny. I even have
Yeah.
problems with it with the older kids. I when we arrive at some of our sessions, I'll say you
Mm.
can have a ball if you put a bib on. You don't get a ball if you don't. And then everyone's bibbed up, and then there's no discussion, and everyone wants a ball, so they generally get it. So just
Hmm.
just to give everyone a brief overview, we obviously are directors at Sharky Soccer School,
Yeah.
formerly Footy School,
Yes.
um, and we changed, didn't we? And we changed because all
Hmm.
of our sessions were very much shark themed for fun and development, and
Yeah.
we can touch on that in a moment. But it just seemed to make sense. I mean, what if you were to describe Sharky Soccer School in a sentence or two? What would you suggest it is?
Okay, so we're a football coaching company for ages 2 to 12-year-olds that focus on the fun as well as developing the players. Um,
Why the shark theme? What do you think works about it? What's the thing that makes it fun for the players that arrive at our session?
It's just, I mean, with the shark, anyway, I mean, obviously we have the mascots as the shark. So the fact that they come to the sessions every now and again, that is a huge fun factor for the kids.
They want to know in the reef shark session who's in the box, right? You have a special guest every
Yeah,
week, and they don't know who's
every week.
coming. Do you want to explain about that?
It's just one of the games that we start with. So it's a bit of an icebreaker, really, and it gets all the children gathered together at the middle. So, especially if you've got any new ones, like we all join in together, we knock on the box and we have to wake up the shark. And each week it's a different shark. But the kids love that. They all get a turn to like hold the shark, and before we go into other games and things. And it's a really, they all love it. It's a big hit.
And which character is their favorite, do you think? Ruby, Billy, Tiago, or Megan?
Yeah, probably Ruby or Billy. I don't know why. Some of them, the 2 to 3-year-olds, some of them are actually quite scared um of the bigger shark. It's not even that big, but even though it's a cuddly toy, that's not their favourite one. So yeah, I'd say one of the smaller ones.
What would you say to
Hmm.
any parent thinking about taking their child to a new activity? It doesn't have to be ours, obviously, it
Yeah.
doesn't have to be football. What would you recommend a parent should do to make sure they're choosing the right kind of activity?
I mean, I would always see if there's a free trial available. If you're looking for an activity session, just so that you can see how your child enjoys the session. You could message the company for a bit more information, bit of backstory, look at like Trustpilot or reviews from other parents. I'd probably suggest those things.
I think if you've got a parent that has a child that wants to have a go at something, like you
Mm.
said, look for a free trial. Don't make it any big thing. Just go there. Just get a drink, get the right sports clothing on, and
Yeah.
just try it out. There's so many
Hmm.
questions I just feel can sort of cloud what it really is. I think when you get to a session as a parent, the vibe.
Yeah.
Have a look at how things are set out, how
Hmm.
well the people running the session are communicating. That's normally a key thing for me. It's the good communication with kids is probably the biggest strength to
Hmm.
look for in a session. Doesn't matter so much about the kind of technical skill. It's great if you've got a coach or someone who's got loads of skills as well. But if
Mm.
you're going to tell me, could I have a coach with excellent communication or excellent ability and only pick one, it would always be that communication. So
Yeah.
look for that in a session, I would suggest, and you'll soon find out whether or not it's the right fit. But as
Mhm.
you know, we've had kids that come to a session and it might not have gone so well because they might not be confident. They might need that
Yeah.
nurturing. They might need that time, you know. And we always
Mhm.
say to the parents at that point, well, look, it's up to you. You can give it a try for the full month. You don't
Yeah.
need to sign up for a year or anything. You know, we do month by month, and
Mhm.
if you think after a month it's not for you, that's fine. Maybe you got to leave it another few months and try again another time. So
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
think that kind of thing parents should look at. What's the kind of commitment after the free trial? Because you know you
Mhm.
don't want to be signing up to something for months on end if you're not sure.
Mm.
What would you suggest from a coach's perspective?
Make sure that they're welcomed into the group, introduce them to new kids that might have started maybe the week before. Make sure they're always getting involved in lots of games, and but also letting them sit back if they want to, letting them go and
Yeah.
sit with their parent for a few minutes if they need to sit out, or only want to join in half the session. Don't force them to join in, but let them just sit back and take in what's going on.
Okay, so have
Mhm.
coaches killed the joy of football before screens ever had a chance to?
Oh, I think maybe yes. In some cases, yes, I do think they have. I've
What are they
seen
doing?
some,
What are they doing wrong? Tell me, like, obviously there's great coaches out there, but tell me what you see that's wrong. Just say how it is. Come on.
just a lot of telling, just a lot of shouting, ordering. Not it is bad in some cases. You do see a lot of coaches just taking over, just screaming at advice and what to do onto the pitch. You see it so much, and it shouldn't be that. Like we've said at the start, it should always be about the children making their own decision. Yes, guide them.
Is it just the coaches?
No, no. At the other side of the pitch, you do have parents doing the same thing,
Yeah,
in a lot of cases as well. Don't get me wrong; it's not in all cases.
cool.
I've seen the complete flip side of it as well. It's just I have seen a lot of what we wouldn't necessarily class as good coaching. No.
So you're obviously club welfare officer for our community
Hmm.
club. You've got a big part in this, and it's something
Hmm.
we talk about regularly. What
Hmm.
do we do? What's the remedy?
I think just as, especially with our club, always just, making them aware of what our ethos is, that isn't something that we tolerate. We're not going to be a club. We don't want to be a club where coaches order from one side and parents are screaming from the other side. That's not what we do. And I think if more clubs did that and stuck to their values, then I do think grassroots especially would be a lot better.
Yeah, I think it's like anything. It sounds a bit dramatic, but it's almost like a disease, isn't it? And prevention's better than a cure. So
Hmm.
we're at this point where we need a cure too often, and it's like, well, how can we get it earlier on? How can we,
Yeah.
start the ball rolling in a positive way, in the right way? And that's something
Yeah.
that everyone has a duty to do because unfortunately habits stick whether they're good or bad, don't they?
Mm.
And I feel there's like a big question or a lot of big questions to be answered, not just by individuals themselves, but then you look
Hmm.
at the team, then you look at the club, then it's the league, then it's
Yeah.
the
Hmm.
affiliations. Where do we stop at this? Where do we start at this? And we'll have to come back to that another day, but it's something we've got to look at for
Open a
sure.
can of worms with that one, Chris.